Question for you. Do you feel as though you're not living to your fullest potential? Do you feel like you're holding back? You've got so much more to give. There's something in you just dying to come out. You've got so much more to give, but you're not able to put it out there for whatever reason. That all ends today. That ends today. We're going to talk about embracing your greatness. I'm going to give you 3 steps to take it from where you're at right now, that feeling that you've got, to the point where you feel like a lion just ruined and making a huge impact on the world. What's up, fam? Dr. Dale here. This is Permission to Be Great. My mission is to help you walk in your greatness on a daily basis. Let's dive right into these 3 steps to take you from where you're at now, to the lion, the roar, to getting out there and making an impact. All right. So step number 1, right? We're talking about embracing your greatness. Step number 1 is really simple. You have to acknowledge, you have to admit that you are a masterpiece. You have to admit that you're a masterpiece, right? And I'm not just saying that. I'm not just making it up, okay? I'm no Bible scholar, but I'll tell you where I get this from. I get this from Ephesians 2:10. Ephesians 2:10, it says that we are God's masterpiece. Some versions might say handiwork. Some versions may say we're God's workmanship. But a version is we are God's masterpiece. Do you hear that? You are called God's masterpiece. What does that mean? That means the master made this piece. The master made you. And if you're God's masterpiece, you cannot tell me that you are not great. You cannot tell me that you are not great. It says we're God's masterpiece, created for good works, created in Christ Jesus for good works. And we'll talk about those good works later on, okay? But the first step is just understand that you are a masterpiece. You are great. You know, when I started this Permission to Be Great podcast, one of the biggest things I struggled with, I sought counsel from, some who are older, wiser than I am, right? I always seek counsel. It's a great thing. I struggle with this idea of telling people that they're great, right? Because I don't want you guys walking around with a lot of pride and feeling as though you're better than other people. But the truth is, you are great, right? The truth is, you are God's masterpiece. The truth is, there is something special in you. Now, what you don't want to get into is starting to believe that you are inherently better than somebody else. That's not correct, right? I don't see that taught anywhere, and that is not correct. That's what leads to racism. That's what leads to discrimination. That's what leads to a whole lot of bad, negative things throughout the history of human life. Okay, right? But you are a masterpiece. You were built with care. You were built with intention. Right? You do have a purpose. Those things are true. And you have to understand that. You have to acknowledge that, not just for the world. You have to acknowledge that for yourself if you want to go off and embrace this greatness and do great things. You got to be willing to say, hey, I'm God's masterpiece. There's greatness inside of me. There is greatness inside of me. Matter of fact, go ahead and take a moment to say it right now, because some of you guys, you're by yourself. I know how it is. This is a challenge. This personal challenge from Dr. Dale to you, right? Because some of you guys just can't overcome just saying it. I have greatness in me. I am great. I am God's masterpiece. Say those things, right? Because before you can actually go out there and embrace your greatness, you have to admit it to yourself that you are God's masterpiece. Not saying you're better than anybody else, but the Bible is clear. God created us. You're God's handiwork. It's okay to acknowledge that. Not just okay, as a matter of fact, it's a great thing to actually acknowledge that. You know, and the reason it's so difficult for some of us to do that is because society puts us in positions where they want to beat us down and make us feel as though we're not good. And this has nothing to do with social class, race, or anything. This is just people in general, right? As a whole, the way society is set up with competition of one group trying to get better than the other group. And part of the strategy for this group to feel as though they're better than the other group is to beat them down mentally and make them feel mentally inferior, because people understand that if you feel mentally inferior, you will perform at an inferior level. So that's why step number 1 is to begin to feel mentally superior. And I don't even want to say superior. Let me take that back. To feel mentally elite. You want to be elite, and you need to understand that, because before you can go off and do great things, before other people can acknowledge your greatness, you have to acknowledge your greatness. You have to acknowledge that you have the capabilities, you have the intrinsic things necessary to be great, because you were built as God's masterpiece. Not the masterpiece, but you're a masterpiece that God has built along with everybody, humans. That's the creation of human, right? And that's not coming from Dr. Dale. That's coming from Ephesians 2:10, biblically backed. And you guys know what my worldview is, right? So that this first step is about getting your self-esteem. In order to embrace your greatness, you have to have the self-esteem to understand and to appreciate that you are great. You were made with greatness, that there is something in you, that you do have that thing inside of you to offer the world, right? This is where we get into imposter syndrome. People begin to believe that, oh, I have nothing to offer. No, you got a lot to offer. You just got to dig deep in there, acknowledge it and find it and let it go. That's what you got to do. We all have a lot to offer this world. Everybody, right? But the first step before you can actually do it, you have to admit and be okay saying, "Man, I'm bad. I'm him." Right? I'll tell you. What one of the most phenomenal things that I've seen happen. When I say phenomenal, I mean just really interesting thing that I've seen happen is when you're talking about greatness, right? Lil Wayne, the rapper Lil Wayne, some years back, he had the song where at the end of the song he starts saying the best rapper alive since the best rapper retired. He's talking about Jay-Z, right? So he's repeating this in the song, the best rapper alive since the best rapper retired. And then before you know it, like a few weeks, months later, people starting to say Lil Wayne's the best rapper ever, at least the best rapper at that time. Why is that? Did anything he said change? Did his skills change? No, it was the same Lil Wayne rapping. He just came to the point and said, you know what? I know I'm good. I know I'm great. I'm going to tell the world that I'm going to acknowledge it. He acknowledged it to himself first, and he put it out there and said it. The best rapper alive since the best rapper retired. And next thing you know, Lil Wayne's on top of the charts. He's killing it. Everybody's saying he's the best rapper. Step number one, admit to yourself that you have greatness within you. Every elite person does it. Every elite athlete does it. They have to admit, like, hey, I'm the best at this, or I can be the best at this. That's step number one. All right. So step number two is develop your gifts. Step number two, develop your gifts. Here's the deal, right? You're great, but you're not great because of you. You're great because, you're God's masterpiece, right? So it's not by anything we did. As a matter of fact, that's what that whole verse is about, really. It's talking about how we're saved by faith, right? Grace and faith, right? Not by our own works. That's the point of Ephesians 2:8 through Ephesians 2:10. That's the whole purpose of it, right? So it's nothing that you did necessarily that makes you great. But here's the deal: God has put gifts in you. We all have gifts. God has put great things in everybody. Everybody has a gift. I think back to when I was a kid. I couldn't talk well. I still don't talk well. I talk fast. Some of you guys are probably listening to this like, slow down, Dr. Dale. I get it. I speak fast. That's okay. I'll tell you why it's okay, because I've always talked like this, right? So I was an itty bitty child. I spoke fast, and to the point where I was in speech therapy or whatever. I don't know what it was, but some speech classes they had me in as a kid. They'll take me out of class and I have to go sit down and do some speech stuff as a kid because I guess I spoke too fast. I mumbled. People can't understand me to this day. Some people still can't understand me. But here's the deal. Eventually, I recognized that my communication, the things I had to say, I was gifted in it. At least I believe I was gifted in it. Other people have since told me that I was gifted in it. So I began to practice my communication and my speaking. It doesn't mean I necessarily slowed it down or changed it completely, but learning when to slow down, when to speed up, learning different things. I began to study this. I began to practice this. I focused on personal development. This is step number 2 for you. When I talk about develop your gifts, it's practice your gifts. It's personal development. We're talking about embracing your greatness. Take a moment to think about what are the things that make you great. Right? What are the things? What are the gifts that God has given you? What are you inherently just naturally good at? Take those things and begin to work on them. I began to work on my speaking, right? Now I get paid handsomely to hit the stage and speak. It's very nice. From something when as a young kid, people said that I couldn't speak well. Now people are cutting big checks for me to come step on the stage for an hour and talk to people. Because I practiced it, I worked on it, I honed the skill, I developed the gift, and I'm taking that and I'm utilizing it towards the greatness that I hope to put into this world. Right. So part of embracing your greatness is further developing the things you have. You steward God's gifts. Everything is given to you. You steward. Talk about the parable of the talents. Some of you might know this parable from the Bible, right? The parable of the talents. There's a master. He's going on a long trip, right? But he has 3 people there with him working for him. And he says, "Hey, I need you guys to take care of my money, my money, right?" So he gives each one of them X amount of money, right? The first one gives 10 talents. Talents are money. Gives 10 talents. Second one, 5 talents. The last one, 1 talent. The one to give 10 talents to doubled it. The master was like, "Good, great." Second one, 5, doubled it. Good, great. Because y'all doubled it, I'm going to give y'all more. Y'all took care of the gift that I gave you. You guys did good things with it. So I'm going to give you more so you can go make more, do more great things because I trust you with the gift that I gave you. I trust you with it. You showed me you could do something good with it. The third one, I said, "Master, I didn't go out and make more money with it. I just buried it under the ground. So that way, because I knew that the type of person you were, I didn't want you to be mad at me if I lost it. So I just buried it. And then when you came back, I wanted to be able to give it back to you." Master was not having that. He was not having that, right? Call him a wicked servant because he didn't take what he had and make the most of it and develop it and turn into more. Same thing, right? Remember, you're not great in of yourself. It's a God-given gift. It's something that's been given to you. So it is your responsibility to steward over that, to work on it, and to make it better, to grow it, to develop it. Why? So you can put it out there and impact more people, right? That's the whole idea behind it. So that's what you want to be doing. You want to be taking the things that people might look at you and say, okay, you're great at it, but don't be lazy, don't waste it, don't poorly steward it. Work on it, develop it, practice it, be very intentional and focus on developing that thing that quote unquote is part of the greatness in you. That's embracing your greatness, not just acknowledging you have it, but it's working on it to make it ultra elite, right? Work on it. And you see it time and time again with athletes, right? Think about it this way. Here's a very simple thing. Think about somebody like Hakeem Olajuwon. Hakeem Olajuwon was a soccer player in Nigeria. Came to America, tall, right? 6'10", 7 feet, something of that sort. Super tall, right? Well, they list him at 7 feet, but when he first came here, he might have been 6'10" or so, right? So Hakeem Olajuwon, soccer player in Nigeria, hadn't really played much basketball. About 7 feet, comes to America, goes to University of Houston College, right? Not a phenomenal basketball player at first because he just hadn't played basketball, but he had something that was given to him, right? His height had nothing to do with anything that he did. The height is part of the genes that he was given. That was a gift in a sense. But what did he do? He didn't just waste it. He honed on it and took advantage of it and used it to do something great. Became a phenomenal basketball player, one of the best ever, right? My basketball heads in here. I dare say he's the top 3, maybe top 2 center all-time NBA history, okay? Right? I want to hear what y'all have to say about that, right? But I dare say he's definitely top 3, maybe top 2 center all-time NBA history, right? And he utilized the gift of height and he honed it. He worked on his skills to turn into something else, something more, right? That's what I'm talking about. Take what's been given to you, figure out what you can do with it to grow it, to develop it, right? Develop and put it out there, which is getting to step number 3. So step number 3 is display your greatness for others. Display your greatness for others, right? You know, I was thinking about this last night. Imagine going a world and never hearing Beyonce sing, right? Imagine that, you know, when I think about some of the greatest singers, right? I've got a list of some people, you know, I put Mariah Carey when she was at her peak. Mariah Carey is up there amongst the best, you know, women singers ever. Imagine never hearing Mariah Carey sing. Imagine never hearing Andre Bocelli sing. Imagine never hearing the song Time to Say Goodbye, right? Imagine that. Imagine never seeing the Mona Lisa. Imagine never seeing a Picasso. Imagine the Sistine Chapel. Imagine all these things never being done, how much they've added to the world, right? That's because these are individuals who, number one, for all the steps here, admitted to themselves that they were a masterpiece, that they had greatness in them. Number 2, they didn't just go out there and start doing stuff. They honed that skill, the craft. They worked on it. They embraced the fact that they were great at something. They embraced these gifts. And number 3, they put it out into the world. This takes us back to the verse again, Ephesians 2:10. We're God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus for what? For good works. For good works. Now, it's slightly different from what we're talking about because defining good works is a separate topic here. But for the sake of this idea, this message I'm delivering to you about embracing your greatness, follow the steps. Admit it, work on it, put it out there to show people, to help people, to impact lives. That's coming full circle to embrace the greatness. Because some people say, oh, yeah, I'm phenomenal at this. I'm phenomenal at this. But you haven't done anything with it to impact other people's lives, right? You haven't done anything with it to impact other people's lives, right? When you hear Beyonce sing, it impacts your life, right? You might not make anything great, but it might give you a certain sense of relaxation. If you need to go party, right? What's it called? The Beehive or whatever. The Beehive gets excited up in the clubs or whatever, at the concerts, right? And it does something for you emotionally, psychologically, stress relief, to rejuvenate you for the week, right? This is impacting people's lives. And I'm just giving that because those are pop culture things. I'm a medical doctor. Within the medicine, it's the same thing. For doctors who work to be the best, who hone their crafts, they go out there and put on display. When I do my procedures in the bronchoscopy suite, or surgeons doing surgery, or you know, family physicians doing whatever specialty you're in, you go out there, you're displaying it, you're putting out there to impact lives. That's fully embracing your greatness and utilizing the gifts that God has given you to impact the world. Impact the world, right? Those are important. But going back to the first step again, because I think this is the one where we're not even talking about getting to step 3, because so many people struggle with step 1, which is admitting to yourself. It is okay for you to admit and understand that you are God's masterpiece. It is okay. And my assignments, my plea to you all is that you would take the moment, go open the Bible, open up to Ephesians 2:10. Matter of fact, Ephesians 2:8 to 2:10, and read it for yourself. Read it for yourself. Don't just listen to me. Read it for yourself and see that that's what you were called. See it. Because you're not going to get to this other place down the line of having that roar and lion, that impact on the world, if you cannot get past that first step of understanding that it's okay to admit to yourself. And I'm harping on this because I know so many people, right? People message me, people want to talk to me, have all these meetings with me and such, because they cannot get past the first. They don't realize that's why, but I see it in them. They cannot get past this first step of being willing to admit to yourself, hey, God made me a masterpiece, and I'm okay. I'm okay with that. And I should do something with that. I should work on it. I should make it better. I should display it to the world. Man, hope you guys are getting this, because once you get this, once more people start getting this, the impact we can have on society, the impact of the world, so tremendous, so tremendous, so tremendous, so tremendous. All right, guys. Hey, 3 steps. Let's wrap it up. 3 steps here. Number 1, admit to yourself that you are a masterpiece. Admit to yourself that you are a masterpiece, God's masterpiece. Admit that. Number 2, self-development. Hone your craft. Practice it. Number 3, put it out in the world. Display it and serve other people. All right, so here's what's going to happen now, okay? Here's what's going to happen now. There's going to be some videos around here. YouTube knows what you like. YouTube studies you. Yeah, they got all the data on you. They do, right? So they know what you like. So whatever videos you're putting around here next, they think is going to help you grow, something you'll enjoy. I say it's going to help you grow because I know if you're watching this video, you're the type of person like me who's about becoming the best person you can be. Understand that you do have permission to be great. Go ahead and click on that video. Keep watching, keep learning, keep growing. You have permission to be great. Love you guys. Hit that subscribe button.